Super Lucky Disaster Man. Chapter 1, Night Bar Talk. Speaking of which, last night, I met an interesting person. He even borrowed my cell phone to call the police. Tokyo Ginza Lupin Bar, Port Mafia's most promising executive to be, Dazai Osamu, suddenly said so while chatting with his friends. Friends number 1, Oda Sakanosuke casually continued, "What happened?" "It's kidnapping, kidnapping." Dazai Osamu knocked on his own cup. The group of kidnapper hired the Port Mafia warehouse. I saw the scene, a total of 4 kidnappers. At that time in the warehouse there were only 3, one was hit by a light. The autopsy said that he had a blood boil in his head. He must have died on the spot after being crushed. The remaining 2 were crushed to death by the falling object of a container. Only the kidnapped person was fine. Friends number 2, Sakaguchi Ango supported his glasses, speculated, "Is it an ability?" "This is the most interesting thing," Dazai Osamu said with sparkling eyes. "I checked, everything is accidental. The light is naturally aging and broken, the container is not of good quality, the side can't withstand the pressure inside and cracked. In short, no matter how you look at it, it's all a coincidence." "Then it's probably a coincidence," Oda Sakanosuke said dryly. Sakaguchi Ango thought a little more. "Is there something wrong with that kidnapped person? Otherwise, Dazai, you wouldn't intentionally go to the scene, and intentionally have them do an autopsy." Dazai Osamu snapped his fingers. "Ango really understands me, that's right, that person looks very interesting." The situation last night when he met that silver-haired youth, it often replays in Dazai Osamu's mind until now. He originally just wanted to jump a sea, but because he heard a loud noise coming from a certain warehouse, Dazai Osamu immediately excitedly took a look. The situation in the warehouse was as he described to his friends. However, what he did not say is, at that time that kidnapped youth was laughing. He laughed loudly like a madman, using all his strength, hysterical. The laugh is filled with anger and madness, but it did not have a trace of happy due to the kidnappers' death that allowed oneself to escape alive. It is better to say, the other party did not pay any attention to the warehouse incident. Even when Dazai Osamu stands in front of him, the pair of eyes was so disintegrated that it did not even reflect Dazai Osamu's figure into it. The teenager's whole body from top to bottom all radiated almost out of control arrogance, violently releasing the intense emotions in his heart towards the outside world. Even Dazai Osamu, who was closely watching him, seemed to be infected by his emotions, feeling tremble because of this insanity and madness. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. What Why am I still alive If it's like that, am I not a failure? Not me who have not become hope. Why am I not dead, not dead, not dead? Dazai Osamu grabbed the teenager's hair, causing the youth to raise his head due to being tied tightly and sitting on the ground, unconsciously looking straight at him. This seemingly younger than Dazai Osamu teenager had a pair of rare blue-gray eyes. Inside remained Dazai Osamu very familiar things. This gaze. His spirit, as if still remaining in the face of death, has not returned to this world. Judging from what he said just now, he had failed. Compared to existence, he seems to hope that he has died. So, what's the problem with that kidnapped person? His friend's words suddenly interrupted Dazai Osamu's recollection of last night. Its best part was when the police were called. Dazai Osamu refocused his attention, then continued to say, "We just reported the name, the police actually recognized who he is. It appears that because he often calls for an emergency, the police have all heard of him." Frequent callers of the police? Sakaguchi Ango's mouth corners trembled. Could it be that he was also often kidnapped before? Is he from a rich family? I investigated more later. It was more interesting than I had imagined. It really can be filmed into a Hollywood blockbuster. Dazai Osamu said with great interest. The first biggest accident he encountered was during elementary school. He and his parents were on a plane when they encountered a group of hijackers. How do you think this incident was resolved in the end? Oda Sakanosuke thought for a moment. A passenger with an ability saved everyone? Dazai Osamu shook his head. A meteorite fell from the sky and hit the hijackers. Oda Sakamosuke. Sakaguchi Ango, this is really unbelievable. But, why does this incident sound a bit familiar? It's no wonder it sounds familiar. The probability of a plane being hit by a meteorite and crashing is too small. A few years ago there was a lot of news coverage, the whole world talked about it. When he mentions that, Oda Sakamosuke also had an impression, I remember that there seemed to be only one survivor, a little child. That's right, it's the person who was kidnapped yesterday. Called Komaeda Naruto, his parents died in the plane crash that time. Dazai Osamu said cheerfully. The atmosphere was a bit silent for a moment, but Dazai Osamu didn't care, and continued speaking. After this incident, he obtained a huge inheritance from his parents, a child having a huge fortune, everyone understands the consequences, so he was kidnapped. Not just this time. Sakaguchi Ango sighed because of this ups and downs in fate, to be able to live peacefully until now, it's really not easy. After that, he picked up a lottery ticket from a kidnapper's plastic bag, and won the grand prize of 300 million yuan. Oda Sakamosuke. Sakaguchi Ango, generally speaking, when separate this seems like nothing, but when it focuses on the same person, then this is a bit strange, it's really not an ability. Right? Actually there's more, he usually encounters all kinds of good things in his daily life, although there are also bad encounters, but he himself is still safe and alive until now. Dazai Osamu suddenly raised his voice, so, the question is. If he has an ability, what will his ability be? Sakaguchi Ango spat. Maybe it is the same as something with a button, press once and the person next to him dies, then he can receive up to 100,000, this kind of everyone around him has bad luck, and only him has good luck type of ability. So there is this kind of ability. Oda Sakamosuke sighed. I am joking. Just now it was definitely a case of satire. So that's it. Forget it. What does Dazai think? Dazai Osamu's tone was gentle. I feel that his ability might be 100% survived from an accident. Oda Sakamosuke nodded. Sounds very useful. I was also joking. Dazai Osamu was a little discouraged. Actually I guess his ability is disaster removal, and so on. The general probability is still not under his control, it's a passive ability. Indeed, the people around him are also too unlucky. Sakaguchi Ango expressed agreement. Dazai Osamu concluded, if it is used properly, it will be very useful, this kind of ability. However, he himself probably won't be happy. Sakaguchi Ango explained, that's right, after all, his parents were probably killed by him. It's still not certain whether it's an ability. Oda Sakamosuke calmly said, maybe it's just his own good luck. Dazai Osamu poked the ice cube down, this kind of luck that can let people around welcome sudden death. How interesting, if we can meet again, it would be great. Super Lucky Disaster Man. Chapter 2, A Strange Place to Reunite. Fire is joyfully dancing. I lie on the ground, on my body are wounds that I had pierced myself using a dagger. Everyone have returned with extinguishing bullets, threw it toward the room without hesitation, the poison that I mixed in with the extinguishing bullets rapidly spread due to the high heat. But I know, the only one who die will be the me that's lying here. My vision is blurry as I stared at the sharp spearhead hanging above the crossbar, and stopped breathing. Ho! Komaeda Naruto suddenly woke up from the dream, as if to compensate for the lack of air before, his breathing was rushed and sharp. After a long while did his heart calm down. It's a dream. Strictly speaking, that actually can be considered as Komaeda Naruto's memory. He had died once, facing another world's memories, just like in a dream, stopping at that instant of death. Although he had died, according to Komaeda Naruto's speculation, the next development should be his hand letting go of the rope because of his death, leading to the sharp spear handing above falling down on his body forming a seemingly cause of death wound. Like that, a suicide disguised as a murder scene was completed. Komaeda Naruto originally wanted to use his own death to design a plan, but he did not think that he had arrived in a different world upon opening his eyes again. It was yesterday evening that he woke up in another version of himself in this world. He is different from the one who goes to a common high school in this world. In the original world, he is a Private Hope's Peak High School student. Private Hope's Peak Academy enjoys government privilege, cultivating society's top talent special school. Every year elites from various fields are admitted from the junior high school graduates in the whole country. As long as they can get into the Private Hope's Peak Academy main campus admission qualification, life is already half successful. Although there are dependent primary schools and junior high schools, but Private Hope's Peak Academy is core focus in the high school department. There are two conditions for the high school department admission. 1. Current high school student. 2. Be the very best at what you do. Elites in various fields, after admission will be awarded corresponding titles, such as Ultimate Detective, Ultimate Programmer, and so on. They are all of the country's hope. However, there is a special seat each time. One student from the list of high schools will be selected to enroll. This is basically touching luck, of course. Even if successfully enrolling, the only one who can achieve it is Ultimate Lucky Student, this kind of title that makes people with real talents somewhat looked down upon. Komaeda Naruto is the Private Hope's Peak student of the 77th World Ultimate Lucky Student. Normally speaking, each time Ultimate Lucky Student is essentially still an ordinary person. They just come across great luck once in the enrollment quota. After that they fade into the crowd, not worth paying attention to. But Komaeda Naruto is different. In the Private Hope's Peak Student Committee discussion, an incident happens. The committee members expressed doubt to the headmaster. Luck is actually a probability problem, it should not become a special case. The headmaster didn't even mention Komaeda Naruto's name, instead said, the previous one. Unable to refute committee members. Finally the committee members cannot help but hit their own face, kept quiet and complained a bit but didn't say anything any further. Komaeda Naruto with his own strength, in less than a year time, turns those who thought, luck is bullshit, no research value, this kind of idea by the committee members, to change complexion upon hearing any topic related to Komaeda, even Komaeda Naruto, this name quickly turned into a taboo. Therefore it can be seen, Komaeda Naruto's luck has indeed broken through common sense, but even if it is towards this self-conscious Komaeda Naruto himself, he did not think that by using his own death, it can even surpass his imagination, and reborn him to another world. When he arrived in this world, his mind was still immersed in that feeling of death. What happened he did not remember clearly. In short, with great difficulty after waking up, Komaeda Naruto reluctantly recalled this world's own memories, borrowing someone else's phone to call the police, busy all night before returning to his own home. Today is the third day he came to this world. It is enough for him to digest memories of two worlds. Komaeda Naruto got out of bed after instinctively looked at the bookshelf opposite the bed. If there is any dissatisfaction he had towards this world, then one was that this world did not have Hope's Peak students, the other was. Sigh, this world's literature is really barren. As a person very fond of reading, a person who read through a very wide genre, this world's literature confused Komaeda Naruto. According to this world's own memory, literary figures that he is familiar with are no more than half. Not mentioning that they have not existed, even those that remain such as Natsumi Soseki and some others, he felt like there was something wrong. Komaeda Naruto as a never felt this was a problem, native ordinary student, did not pay any attention to this. If he could not find any clue from the memory, he would put this problem aside temporarily, planning to wait until tomorrow when going to school, aiming to go to the library to look for information. Speaking of which, he had been a Hope's Peak High student for 2 years, he died once but had to return to middle school 3rd year. Komaeda Naruto cursed while organizing all the informations, while changing clothes and preparing to go out. No other way, although he can cook, but the house was ransacked by the kidnappers. Including the refrigerator. He don't know what the kidnappers were thinking. Did they think he would put cash in the refrigerator? Ha 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 ha, if it was true, that was really a bright idea. In short, the food that was in the refrigerator before, he had thrown it out when he was tidying up the room yesterday. Anyway, he had to leave Yokohama tonight and go to Tokyo's apartment. There was no need to buy any food. If there was a need like now, just go out to eat. Walking up the street, Komaeda Naruto casually looked around the storefronts, wandering aimlessly to find a pleasing store to go in to solve his hungry problem. Just as he received a flyer from a girl, a strange sound suddenly came from afar. The giggling girl's face immediately darkened. It's starting again. Mafia huh? Komaeda Naruto sighed. This world's Yokohama is really not peaceful. Last year there was already a big event. Gangsters were everywhere in the street fighting to the death. Because he understands his own situation, Komaeda Naruto stayed in Tokyo and did not return, but even so his house was a casualty. Fortunately he bought insurance. The strange thing is, the incident in Yokohama was very large, yet Komaeda Naruto in Tokyo feels very peaceful. The news is probably blocked by the government. If one does not pay attention to Yokohama then one would not know what had happened. But actually a one-year junior of his called Kudo Sunichi seems to have guessed something, and came to him to learn of Yokohama news, seemingly to really feel interested in the situation in Yokohama. After roughly hearing about the situation, Kudo Jr. was really angry and expressed, Yokohama violence group is too arrogant. Therefore, in contrast to last year, no ordinary people dared to walk outside even in daytime. It is much better this year. Just now is only one gunshot rang out. If it was last year then multiple gunshots would have fired one after the other. Thinking carefully, it might be because of the previous year's battle that exhausted all the group's strength. Then there is the Port Mafia, took the opportunity to occupy the Yokohama underworld boss position in one fell swoop, and began to collect and clean up other gangster groups. Under the Port Mafia's rule, Yokohama became much more harmonious. At least now everyone dared to go to town, and business activities were becoming more frequent. Regretfully, the kind of thing just now still did not disappear. The Port Mafia had yet to steady their top position yet in Yokohama underworld, and it was normal to have conflicts. The little sister was also very used to this sudden situation, although because the gunshots seemed to be not far away, her complexion was not very good, but she did not panic or lose her composure, and instead calmly asked Komaeda Naruto, "Want to come to our store to hide?" Komaeda Naruto very cheerfully agreed, "Really kind-hearted, you are even willing to care for me, this kind of person." The little sister. The way this child speaks is a bit strange. Forget it, first hiding in the shop is more important. Their location is very close to the shop. The little sister brought Komaeda past 2 shops and they've already arrived. This is a noodle shop. The chef is cooking in the half-open kitchen. Regular customers can directly sit in front of the long table in front of the chef. Komaeda Naruto as a new guest choose a corner, chooses a recommended dish, then immediately stays in the shop to wait. During waiting, Komaeda Naruto has been observing outside, not a moment when he discovers that everyone's walking speed is obviously increasing, some even starts to run. Looks like the battlefield is approaching this direction. Komaeda Naruto was very experienced in this kind of situation, and had a premonition. Next, he afraid. "Hello." The little sister's voice interrupted Komaeda Naruto's thoughts. He smiled and said thanks, then slowly started eating the bowl of noodles. No matter what, eat first. Because of the memory fusion causing a headache, he did not eat well yesterday. If he still is not eating again today he will hurt his stomach. Moreover, even if something was to happen, it was just that his luck was a bit better than others. He did not have any ability to stop it, right? Komaeda Naruto's hunch was correct. He did not eat much when several burly men dressed in black suits entered the shop. In a flash the entire shop was as silent as a graveyard. A man in black looked at the tool in his hand, suddenly pointed towards a person. "It's him. Catch him. Don't think that you can escape by changing your appearance." The person that was being chased by the black suits man, if he did not surrender before, of course there is no way he obediently waited to be caught now. Immediately gunshots rang out in this small shop. The black suit man immediately wanted to curse. "You actually shoot in this kind of small space, are you not afraid of being hit by stray bullets?" Without a doubt, the shop immediately became a mess. Some people did not have time to care that there were similar black suit men guarding outside, directly jumping out the window to escape. That person that seemed to be very good at disguise also took the opportunity to continue to escape. After a long while, the shop finally quieted down. Komaeda Naruto looked at the black-clothed man who was using a gun to point at himself, sighed, "You got the wrong person." The black-clothed man was very confident and sneered, "Although you changed your appearance again, even throwing away your coat, unfortunately our tracking device is not placed on the coat." I know, it is the shirt," Komaeda Naruto helplessly said. In other words, the person that escaped from the window just now from behind him, in fact is the person this group of black-clothed people want to capture. That person must have conveniently put the tracking device on him when he passed by. Thinking this, Komaeda Naruto indeed remembers the other party wearing a white shirt similar to him. After all, if the appearance of the shirt changes too much, an idiot would also understand that it's fake. Actually, because of wearing a similar shirt to be involved in this kind of event, he really is unfortunate. However, this also makes him excited for what the upcoming luck will bring. Komaeda Naruto put down his chopsticks, raised his hand to surrender, attempting to explain a little. "It's a misunderstanding, I'm not the guy you want, he must have put the tracking device on me just now. It's so clearly framed, you should not see it, right?" Although it was an explanation, but Komaeda Naruto's are like sarcastic words, and under such a situation he is still able to calmly respond, making the black-clothed man even more determined in his thoughts. "Speak less." The black-clothed man steadily raised his gun. "Even if there is no tracking device, I can also see with a glance that you are the most suspicious." A tone that sounded very interested, suddenly sounded from behind the black-clothed man. "Oh. How did you see it?" Of course, the black-clothed man spoke halfway, suddenly realizing that this voice was not right. Dazai-sama." Komaeda Naruto followed the sound and looked over. Author's note. Because this world does not have Hope's Peak student, so Komaeda can only rely on his own judgment to determine whether the other party has talent or sparkling of Hope 2333, laughing slang. Overall speaking, currently Komaeda is a fusion of the junior high version of himself. His worldview suddenly changed to an unclear worldview, so he has recovered a bit to normal, but his nature cannot be changed. Along with, the committee meeting was real, it comes from the novel. Super Lucky Disaster Man. Chapter 3, Exceptionally Lucky, Ordinary Person. Being called by the black-clothed man with a respectful yet fearful tone as Dazai-sama was an unexpectedly young man, looking to be about the same age as Komaeda Naruto. He's wearing a white shirt, very formal with a black tie, on his shoulders was a strange and oversized suit jacket, his footsteps were as light as a ghost as he walked over, brushing past the black-clothed man, and continued to approach Komaeda Naruto. Komaeda Naruto's eyes were shining brightly as he looked towards the person named Dazai. How formidable. Obviously looked to be the same age as himself, yet he can make these groups of men that on a certain level representative of physical strength and of older adults to obey his orders, like he already inhabits high status at such an age. From the group of men's attitude, he did not rely on his family background, so to be this respected, demonstrates this person absolutely has overwhelming ability and strength. If this world also has Hope's Peak students, this person might become ultimate Mafia or something. Facing Komaeda Naruto's burning eyes, the black-haired youth lightly smiled towards him. "We met again." Do I know this person?" Komaeda Naruto immediately recalled a little, but could not remember anything. This should not be. If he met such an outstanding person, under normal circumstances, no matter which version of himself, he will not forget. However, didn't something unusual happen yesterday? Is it possible that he met this person in that vague memory? Therefore Komaeda Naruto relied on his detective work to speculate and said, "Could you be that kind person who lent me his phone to call the police yesterday?" The black-clothed man standing behind the youth couldn't help but change expression in disbelief, eyeballs almost fell out in shock. There's so much stuff in such a short sentence, these kinds of words should not be related to Dazai-sama at all. You forget? Makes sense, your mental state at that time was really chaotic, it looks much better now. Dazai-sama indifferently said, more interested in evaluating Komaeda Naruto. Looking much different from the out-of-control appearance that evening, the Komaeda Naruto appeared in front of him now, has a gentle and calm image, at least it looks like that on the surface, completely without the once captivating wild soul. Is it really you? Even if being pointed at by someone with a gun and can still maintain a smile, Komaeda Naruto, yet now carries a despondent expression, to think I even forgot the benefactor who helped me, I really am a very incompetent person. Hearing Komaeda Naruto exaggerated, self-deprecating words, Dazai-sama slightly raised his eyebrows, the hand that reached out stopped for a moment, then continued. The hand tied with bandage reached over Komaeda Naruto's hair, touching the back of the neck a bit, then retracted, throwing the device in his hand behind. The black-clothed man instinctively glanced at the thing that fell on the ground, and discovered that they were the tracking weapon that was placed on the enemy. Idiot. Dazai-sama, who previously carried a smile, changed at this moment to indifferent and disgusted. He looked towards the person who was still raising his gun, said with a harsh tone. Although letting the rat escape was part of the plan, you guys were deliberately chosen, but until now you still didn't understand that you got the wrong person, aren't you a bit too foolish? Being told directly that he was chosen because of stupidity, the black-clothed man embarrassedly retracted the gun, lips twitching, seeming to want to say something but held back. However, even if he didn't say it, Dazai-sama wouldn't forget. That's right, you just said that even with no tracking device you would still feel that he was suspicious, right? Dazai-sama suddenly smiled. Oh, I will give you a chance to convince me why. The black-clothed man was very used to his superior's enthusiasm surging, and it was very clear that if he dared to hesitate, this chance would immediately be gone, so he didn't have a single meaningless sentence, and explained. Dazai-sama, this is because when the room was silent, everyone was very nervous, yet he was still eating noodles. This subordinates thought that he was trying to disguise himself as an unrelated passerby, but ended up overreacting. Everyone. Dazai-sama. Although he didn't see this scene when he arrived, but hearing the description, Dazai-sama also felt this was indeed very suspicious. But overly suspicious behavior was not something that would be done by someone who planned to run away. His subordinates were still very stupid. It is because of this reason. Komaeda Naruto still had a surprised expression, as if he had worries for his circumstance. It's just that the noodles can't be kept for long, and I'm about to not eat for a day. The black-clothed man was really aggrieved. Normal people wouldn't be eating noodles at this time. Aren't you afraid of being hit by a stray bullet? Ha 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 ha, although me saying this kind of thing is a bit strange, but even an ordinary person like me also has a relatively good quality. I have a little bit of confidence in my luck. If I die from this kind of thing, I won't be qualified to say I'm lucky in the future, right? So that's it, he has this kind of personality. Dazai-sama from this short contact quickly made a judgment. He looked over Komaeda Naruto's related information before, but the other party's family is normal after all. The plane crash survivor also doesn't count as anything special, due to minor protection before, even the news are all anonymous. It's due to Komaeda Naruto reside alone that he got the kidnapper's attention, a rich person and no other reasons. Therefore, the focus of investigation is clearly placed on Komaeda Naruto. You wouldn't know if you did not investigate. When separates, everything looks fine. Once added everything together, you couldn't help but jumped in surprised experience. Because of this there is not much details on his personality, just simply, somewhat self-deprecating, but the personality is easygoing and generous, and there is no deeper investigation. Dazai-sama has seen Komaeda Naruto's crazy appearance in the kidnapping scene, so he immediately knows this investigation on Komaeda Naruto is very superficial. It's just, for him, Komaeda Naruto is only an interesting passerby. Sending people to investigate is solving the port Mafia warehouse murder case at the same time, conveniently satisfying a little bit of his own curiosity, so he is too lazy to care whether the information has problems or not. But he did not think that it wasn't long before they unexpectedly met again. With his life changing fast, filled with dramatic development every day, it really does make this person's personality become very interesting. Self-disrespect. This assessment perhaps is not inaccurate in some cases, but the person who said this has not met Komaeda Naruto just now. Again, Komaeda Naruto's arrogance, self-confidence originated from "I investigated you." Dazai-Osamu did not hide at all and said, his laughing appearance even carried a bit of childishness, "What you experience is something ordinary people cannot understand. Luck, is that your ability's effect?" Komaeda Naruto completely ignored the fact that someone was investigating him. To take the time to investigate such a small person such as me, it really flattered me. In fact, you if want to know anything you can directly ask, I will answers the best of my ability with gratefulness in my heart, making myself useful. However, ability. Although the government has always been trying to conceal it, to do that in Yokohama is too difficult. Even if you only return to Yokohama during the holidays, it is impossible not to know anything, right? Dazai-Osamu directly revealed the government's plan, and also prevented Komaeda Naruto from pretending to be stupid. Ability users are sparse, but when they do something, the commotion is very large. The special divisions for unusual power are only a secret for ordinary people. Handling these related events is really mentally and physically straining. Other places are fine. Yokohama, this place, because of various reasons, originally said to be sparse ability users like to gather here. Trouble arises when they gather. Thinking to hide from ordinary people is too difficult. They can only make up some ghost stories and urban legends to deceive ordinary people in appearance. They must thank the Japanese people's nature at this kind of time. No matter how crazy you are, whether you are an ability user or not, as long as it does not affect me, then everything is fine. Especially after the Dragon Head's conflict, Yokohama citizens must have guessed something and feel that being tight-lipped and not too meddling are good citizens. Life cannot be too active, only then that a balance is reached with the special divisions for unusual power. And Komaeda Naruto exactly belongs to that guess something type. After all, he is very lucky to directly face an ability user's battle. I do know. But this is the first time that I have known that it is called ability. I thought it would be called superpower or something. Komaeda Naruto bitterly smiled and said, but a trash like me, how can I have such a dazzling identity like an ability user? I am just an ordinary person with a bit of luck. Komaeda Naruto once really was speculating whether his luck was a supernatural ability or not, but now he was very certain that the other world did not have supernatural abilities and superpowers of this kind. Only various kinds of miracles could exist, and two worlds' versions of his luck were the same, so the possibility that his luck was not a supernatural ability was relatively high. The black-clothed man did not dare to interrupt the conversation between his superior and the youth, but his inner comment did not stop. Absolutely will not die from stray bullets in a narrow space. Luck can also be called a little lucky. Is it me who misunderstands the definition of lucky, or you? What the hell are you humbling for? Ah. Remove humble expression and arrogant words posture just now. Ah. Compared to ordinary lucky person, the black-clothed man feels that to support this level of confidence, this person needs to have an ability to make sense. Looking through Komaeda Naruto information, Dazai-Osamu smiled, not believing Komaeda Naruto's answer. There are indeed many coincidences in the world, but when the coincidence is concentrated on one person, it becomes a big problem, especially the most recent incident he personally witnessed and checked. To achieve this result requires countless coincidences. There are many incidents in Komaeda Naruto life. To say all are good luck is too excessive. Dazai-Osamu of course can see that Komaeda Naruto did not lie, but this kind of thing is not something that, I feel it does not exist, so it does not exist. Have you thought of a possibility? Dazai-Osamu smiled and said, because your ability is not under control, so you cannot feel it? Komaeda Naruto with a face full of emotion, said under the black-clothed man's doubtful gaze, Thank you for keeping an eye on me, you are really kind. But how do I confirm this kind of thing? Dazai-Osamu was suddenly excited. I have a way. He was bored for a long time. When he can see through everything in life, it makes life very boring. If he stayed in this person's life, would he be swept into all kinds of incomprehensible accidents? Thinking about it was so exciting. It was much more interesting than catching the scattered old rat. Moreover, he was very curious about Komaeda Naruto's goal that even if he died, he still wants to achieve. Anyway, the next thing would proceed according to plan, so why not? But without waiting for Dazai-Osamu to continue saying anything, his phone suddenly rang. He immediately dropped his expression and picked up the phone. Boss. Dazai-kun. You also think Elise is more beautiful in red, right? The port Mafia boss speaks of such a topic on the phone. Elise said my taste is not good. Elise, don't throw those documents. I haven't seen them yet. Dazai-kun, come back and help me. Dazai-Osamu hung up the phone without hesitation. Mori-san calling this phone obviously is not about what should Elise wear, but to find him, urging him to come back. For what he has an idea, in short it is no longer the time to be lazy. Dazai-Osamu looked towards Komaeda Naruto, his expression regretful. No other way, we just have to wait for next time. Komaeda Naruto was really happy. This person's whole body exuded an aura of someone with great talent. He unexpectedly still willing to take the initiative to contact him. He was dragged into this unfortunate event. In exchange it is to meet again with this person, right? Do you need my contact information? Komaeda Naruto enthusiastically said to the Mafia youth, completely ignoring the strange gazes of other people in the shop. Sorry, with your ability you must have known already, right? I am talkative. Speaking of which, you know me so well, I still don't know your name. Dazai-Osamu. He was not stingy with people he was interested in, moreover his last name had been exposed, so he casually introduced himself, but unexpectedly caught Komaeda Naruto's pupil dilating that moment. This discovery made him blink again and his interest surging. What's wrong with my name? Komaeda Naruto's voice revealed an effort to suppress his excitement. It is a really good name. You must be an outstanding person. That's right, you must have transcended ordinary people to be able to. Dazai-Osamu made a gesture, making the subordinates behind him not need to act rashly because of a few words, but he himself gently tried, to be able to. Komaeda Naruto pressed down on his temples as if in pain, his eyes also gradually became blurry. That's right, without a doubt. When will your book be out? Dazai-Osamu. Ha! Author's note. Komaeda, headache, Dazai, that's right, he's a writer. A super high-level writer. Dazai. Man in black, Dazai-sama. Kind-hearted. Kind. Super lucky disaster man. Chapter 4, Encountering twice in a single day. Lupin Bar. Cough, so is it true? Intelligence operative Sakaguchi Ango held back his laughter and asked. Dazai was asked, when will your book be out? Oda Sakanosuke was a little surprised. Dazai is writing a book? No. Dazai-Osamu leaned on the bar counter. Ango is well informed. You didn't silence them. This kind of thing naturally spreads really fast. If I'm not even informed with news concerning Port Mafia's most promising executive to be, then I, an intelligence officer, can just quit. Sakaguchi Ango said while holding up his glasses. However, I only heard the general. I'm not very clear of the specific situation. In short, I feel a little perplexed. Oda Sakanosuke isn't up to date with the latest news, he asked in confusion. Perplexed? That's right, I heard the person they mistakenly caught kept praising Dazai with bursts of kind-hearted, caring descriptions and such. Sakaguchi Ango's face was full of words that were hard to say. There's no way he would say these kinds of things in such a situation. Dazai-Osamu raised his head. Ango, as an intelligence officer, you are not up to the job. He really did say so. Sakaguchi Ango. Huh? Because he got the news when he was already out on business, Sakaguchi Ango thought that it wasn't a secret, so he decided to directly ask Dazai since it was more convenient, so he was unclear what had happened. According to the investigated reports, he thought that even if that person was rescued by Dazai, normal people would quickly try to reduce their own presence in this kind of situation and to be as far from any mafia-related thing as possible. But according to what Dazai is saying, this person not only did not leave, but also stays and continually chats with Dazai. Dazai also just continues to listen like that. Isn't he having too much free time, unless the other party is worthy of Dazai's attention? Sakaguchi Ango suddenly understood. Could it be the person you mentioned who borrowed your phone yesterday, Komaeda Naruto? After all, what this person experienced was too fantastical. After listening to Dazai that day, Sakaguchi Ango also could not help but do an investigation on Komaeda Naruto. He just have to say, this person's profile really makes one speechless. The impression is deeply engraved. You can't even forget it even if you want to. That's right, it is that Komaeda-kun. Dazai Osamu cheerfully admitted, very fateful huh? Yokohama feels really small. Oda Sakanosuke sighed, what a coincidence. It indeed is a coincidence, too much of a coincidence. Dazai Osamu propped his chin up and said, he has been in Yokohama for so long yet we have never met, but within these 2 days we continuously coincidentally met, very interesting right? Sakaguchi Ango thought more, what you're saying is, he is purposely approaching you. No, it's really a coincidence. Dazai Osamu seemed to be happy because he had found a new toy. His face carried a smile and said, but this probability. Could it be that I am actually his bad luck? Otherwise why is his luck always letting me encounter him? Although Sakaguchi Ango did not speak, but looking at his expression, it seemed to be in agreement. To be acquainted with Dazai also felt interested in him. Any way you're thinking about it, Komaeda Naruto's future is very grim. Oda Sakanosuke is still holding a calming Buddha appearance. Why aren't you his luck? Dazai Osamu widened his eyes, and laughed out loud. Pfft, ha 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 ha. Oda Saku, you are so interesting, ha 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 ha. Oda Sakanosuke looked towards Sakaguchi Ango. Did I say something wrong? The probability of good luck and bad luck originally is not much different. Moreover, if it is not an ability, there is also the possibility that it is just a pure coincidence. Dazai Osamu laughs so hard his tears come out. Sakaguchi Ango said with complicated feelings, Oda Saku, you haven't said anything wrong, it is Dazai who laughs too strangely. Oda Saku is truly incredible. Although he and Oda Saku know Dazai is not bad, but when you look at where those that gained Dazai's interest ended up. Hopefully the next time he hears of Komaeda Naruto's, it is not a report of his death. So, why does he think you want to publish a book? Oda Sakanosuke pulls the topic back. Dazai Osamu flicks the bandage on his hand. This, only he himself knows, his mental state at that time is not very stable, he must be daydreaming. Or there really is an author who has the same name as me? Sakaguchi Ango spits, if there is, it's impossible, I don't know. Same to you. Port Mafia executive to be. If the same name appears in other fields, their intelligence division absolutely will be the first to obtain the news, okay. Dazai Osamu smiled at this but did not say anything. Sakaguchi Ango did not take it to heart. The next topics returned to their normal pace, random gossip and complaints, until Sakaguchi Ango stood up to say goodbye. I still has work, so I have to end here today. The intelligence operative supported his glasses. I originally thought that I wouldn't see you guys today, didn't expect that you guys are all here. Compared to usual, it's still early today, you two can continue. Oda Sakanosuke looked at the time. No, I also want to go back. I promised the kids to go home early, but today's mission just happened to be in Tokyo, so I came here. Ha! Dazai Osamu laughed without any warning. As for me, there was a sudden mission today and was called back by the boss, so despite me letting myself rest early after resolving the mission, Mori-san wouldn't say anything. As a result, the three of us all gather here early compares to our usual time. That's right, what a coincidence. Sakaguchi Ango suddenly felt something was wrong after finished speaking. Want to bet? Dazai Osamu asked with great interest. I feel that I will definitely meet Komaeda-kun again today. Sakaguchi Ango struggled a bit. It's not like all coincidences are related to that young man. Then Ango is betting that I won't see him? No. Sakaguchi Ango was silent for a moment, then said, I bet that you will see him. What? In the end Ango also feels that this is not a mere coincidence. Dazai Osamu looked disappointed. Why don't you persist a bit? Sakaguchi Ango calmly said, because I suddenly remembered, the report said, that young man usually returns to Tokyo every week at this time. They are currently at Lupin Bar, although it is where 3 Port Mafia members usually gather, but it is actually not located in Yokohama, but in Tokyo, since Japan is relatively small, going back and forth is not troublesome. There have been so many coincidences that make them meet in Tokyo despite not the usual time. He felt that another coincidence is not strange. No, it is indeed still very strange. As the Special Division for Unusual Powers sent to Port Mafia as a spy, Sakaguchi Ango hoped from the heart that Dazai will not meet Komaeda Nagito, otherwise he really have to send his information to the Special Division for Unusual Powers. The pile of information of coincidences that seemingly make the studies of probability useless makes people panic. What if it really is a very dangerous ability? Then what would they do? Hoping that Oda Sakanosuke would offer a remedy, Sakaguchi Ango asks, Oda Saku wants to bet? But Oda Sakanosuke disappointed Sakaguchi Ango. He said, I also bet Dazai will see him. If the 3 of us bet the same, this bet can't stand, right? Why do you also bet on this? Sakaguchi Ango asked confusedly. Because Dazai is really interested in that person. Their age is not much different. I feel that maybe they will become like-minded friends. Oda Sakanosuke calmly said, so I hope they can meet. If I were to bet, then of course it has to be the results that I look forward to the most. Sakaguchi Ango. He really wanted to ask Oda Saku to not offer therapy. Don't know why, but when he heard this, he had a bad premonition. Dazai Osamu crazily laughed again. Ha 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 ha. Good, I will try to see. Ha ha. Forget it. I really need to leave. Farewell. Sakaguchi Ango had no interest in continuing this topic, however he firmly remembered Komaeda Nagito's name in his heart, deciding to focus on him more just in case something happens. Waiting for Sakaguchi Ango to leave in a hurry, Oda Sakanosuke finished his cup, also bidding farewell and left, leaving Dazai Osamu still staying at the bar. The barista very calmly tidied up the table. After a long while, he discovered that Dazai Osamu was slowly playing with the ice cubes of his wine cup, not looking anxious at all. Dazai Osamu suddenly opened his mouth. Boss, you must be thinking, clearly I want to go see someone, why am I not anxious at all? The barista said, I don't think so. He is very clear that the 3 who often come to this place were all Mafia, and to be alive until now, he knows full well what he should do, especially what should be heard and what should not be heard needed to be very clear. It doesn't matter, you can think that. Dazai Osamu said very willfully. The barista did not reply this time. Based on experience, sometimes this young man did not need him to respond, he just wanted to talk aloud. Sure enough, Dazai Osamu did not care about the barista's reaction, only focuses on himself and is using a mumble voice to continue. If I stay here for a while, will I miss it or will it increase our chance of meeting? I am very curious. Although this is not a divination, but for Dazai Osamu, it is not much different from divination. In the end, is it because of knowing the future that everything he does will reversely promote the future to come true? Or is it that even if he knows the future and does nothing that make the future come true? Dazai Osamu is currently testing the principle of Komaeda Nagito's ability. At least until now, Dazai Osamu still believes that Komaeda Nagito is an ability user. Dazai Osamu stubbornly stayed at the bar playing on his phone to waste an hour before leaving. If he waited too long, it became boring. In the end, whether or not they could meet was just a guess, not enough to make Dazai Osamu do more to try. After leaving, Dazai Osamu did not follow his normal route, but rather strolled around Tokyo at will. After all, he did not like subordinates following him to Lupin, and rather more accustomed to going back and forth by himself. Also, the probability of meeting Komaeda Naruto at the station was much higher than other places. Because of looking through the reports, Dazai Osamu also knew Komaeda Naruto's Tokyo address, and intentionally did not go to that side of town. In short, he would go to wherever the probability was low. Anyway, it was still early, he had not relaxed and strolled around for a long time. Taking this opportunity to stroll around was also good. In case he really did not meet Komaeda Naruto, it would not be considered a waste of time. Dazai Osamu considers if he can or cannot meet Komaeda Naruto today as an interesting game, because according to today's development, combined with Komaeda Naruto reports, he felt that if he didn't do all this, the probability of meeting Komaeda Naruto was very high. It's fine if they won't meet, but if they can still meet after all that. Dazai Osamu saw a figure coming out from a certain big building in the corner of his eye. He instinctively looked over, and immediately became somewhat speechless and dumbfounded. They actually really met. So why did he even appear here? This direction is obviously the complete opposite from his home, isn't it? He stood in place, staring at the gradually approaching person. After a few seconds, Dazai Osamu just lightly laughed and muttered, "I really am this guy destined bad luck." Chapter 4 End. Author's note. This chapter's MVP milk god Oda-saku. Oda-saku, maybe it's not an ability. Oda-saku, maybe they'll become friends. Oda-saku, maybe. Ango, can you milk Dazai a little more so he abandons evil and follows justice? Please. Translate note. The term milk here usually refers to a healer, the person that gives care. Super Lucky Disaster Man. Chapter 5, Hide from the Rain and Testing. Komaeda Naruto realized someone was staring at him, keenly glanced over, then discovered that it was the one he had seen today, the person who exuded an extraordinary aura, Dazai Osamu. The two looked at each other. Dazai Osamu suddenly raised a smile, and waved his hand to Komaeda Naruto slightly. Komaeda Naruto's eyes immediately lit up, and he lightly walked over. Komaeda-kun. Dazai Osamu's eyes gently swept over Komaeda Naruto's body, and then smiled. What a coincidence, we meet again. If he did not see wrong, the building Komaeda Naruto just left from, just happened to be the one he was called back to discuss finances by Mori-san today, the monster Tei Corporation, corresponding branch company. Tei Corporation is Japan's huge enterprise. The group's leader Yodo Kazutaka started his business as a loan shark. Despite he is now Japan's number 2 top, he still possesses bottomless greed as before, always felt that money is not enough. In this aspect his reputation is quite unique, but the person himself does not care in the slightest. With a person as rich as Yodo Kazutaka, even if he has no interest in politics, there will also be endless political resources sent to his door. Therefore, during last year's Dragon Heads conflict in Yokohama, the port mafia who showcased all their talents and established a firm foothold in the city, surpassing countless other underworld organizations, facing such a huge financial tycoon, is also cannot be careless. The so-called money will corrupt you. Tei Corporation President, Yodo Kazutaka, the old man, he was already very bad when he was poor, now he's becoming worse and worse, trampling on human life, and the law's limitations become more and more common. Just recently, using an incident in the so-called gambling ship in Yokohama, port mafia considers this as an opportunity to cooperate. Morio, guy called Dazai Osamu back today, had said, some underworld organizations could not even play like this old man. What kind of hobby is observing how evil human nature can be? His ship will sink sooner or later. Dazai Osamu stabbed in Mori's heart. Those underworld organizations also don't have the money to do so, like the port mafia. Boss Mori. Mori, oh guy has nothing to say. After all, before the previous leader died, the port mafia had spent a lot. They took advantage of the Dragon Heads conflict last year when all the underworld was in great chaos to recover some, but finances, it is still not doing well. Otherwise why would they want to go to this rich but inhumane hard-to-please old man to negotiate? Of course it is for his money. Anyway, this topic ended here. Morio guy did not want to be stabbed by Dazai-Osamu again. Speaking of, it is quite miraculous, Dazai-Osamu met Komaeda Naruto in the morning, finished handling Tei Corporation's affairs in the afternoon, now immediately saw Komaeda Naruto come out of the Tei Corporation company. This 1 + 1 = 1 + 1 situation allows Dazai-Osamu to have a new understanding about probability. But the person who caused Dazai-Osamu to have a new understanding about probability, Komaeda Naruto, heard how Dazai-Osamu addressed himself, immediately shyly smiled and said, "Then I will also shamelessly call you Dazai-kun. It really feels like calling a classmate. Is it better to add honorifics?" XX-kun, this title is commonly used with the same generation or elders towards juniors, although he still is not very clear of Dazai-Osamu's age, but according to how the other party has entered society, using Dazai-san might be more appropriate. I don't mind, just call me that. It is the first time someone said they feel like Dazai-Osamu is like a classmate. He directly disregards the calling, this word, only listens to what he wants to hear. The feeling is still wildly novel. He maintained a strangely happy mood, casually asked, "Komaeda-kun is going to deliver proof?" Tei Corporation is a financial monster, their business scope is extraordinarily broad, this branch company just happens to be in charge of insurance, considering Komaeda Naruto's experience, coming here to do what is easy to guess. You guessed it. Komaeda Naruto is not surprised of Dazai-Osamu's sharpness, smilingly replied, "It was me who bought the insurance. Originally it's fine just sending documents over, but I sent it 3 times and it got lost 3 times, really unfortunate moreover this time I met a new kidnapper, so thought that I can just bring both documents myself." Dazai-Osamu also fell silent for a moment. It's not that different from what he had guessed, except for losing the document 3 times, this number. This really is something that will happen to you, but you actually look very happy. Komaeda Naruto said indifferently, "Because I really look forward to after continuously losing the documents, what kind of luck come, thinking of this I feel the future is full of anticipation, then here I met Dazai-kun, I really have good luck." Dazai-Osamu revealed a subtle smile, "Because fortune will happen after misfortune, so you can be happy because of misfortunes?" Of course, it's always been like this. Komaeda Naruto in front of people who he respects, answered very frankly and sincerely, "Dazai-kun checked my information, right? The more unfortunate I am, the more luck I will have. It is directly related, just like that plane accident, this is probably the ultimate luck." No. Dazai-Osamu coldly thought to himself. This is not ultimate luck, the misfortune of losing one's parents, and the fortune of obtaining a huge inheritance and freedom, is this the same price? Komaeda Naruto's parents did not mistreat him, they are qualified as normal parents, not only that but because of Komaeda Naruto's unique circumstances, they give him more care and love, and Komaeda Naruto, on the surface, does not seem to be indifferent to love. At that time, Komaeda Naruto was still an elementary student. Does he really ask for this method to gain freedom? And this much money? Moreover, the consequences of an orphan getting this much money are kidnapping time and time again. If this money is placed in the hands of adults, the kidnappers probably will not have followed Komaeda Naruto from the beginning. Possibly to Komaeda Naruto, fortune and misfortune is indeed more clearer than ordinary people, but the matter of if it is the same price, is still up for negotiation. However, speaking of the nature of Komaeda Naruto's ability, he still needs to take a step further to confirm before he can get the answer, feeling like there is something he can spare his time on recently. Compared to this, Dazai-Osamu is currently more interested in Komaeda Naruto's attitude towards himself. Therefore, Dazai-Osamu smiled and said, "It is still very common to encounter people you know on the street, perhaps your luck is yet to come." "No, this is absolutely luck," Komaeda Naruto said, "because Dazai-kun is different, not an ordinary someone you know." For this special attitude, Dazai-Osamu has not yet found a clue that can explain it. He is very interested. Where is it different? Komaeda Naruto still has a surprised expression. Daisuke feels that he is the same as those useless people. The incompetent and the able person were divided from birth. I think for Daisuke this is very clear, right? Based on today seeing Daisuke-samu's attitude towards his subordinates, Komaeda Naruto felt that the answer to this question was very clear. Hearing this unique answer, Daisuke-samu pondered for more. Chosen's ideology. Israeli people believe that they are chosen by God. After the end of the world comes, the chosen will enter heaven, the abandoned people will enter hell. Many other things were derived from this ideology. For example, believing that those with innate talent are determined by birth. There are innately talented people who are the highest class. The incompetent people work hard but can't catch up. It is a branch of this kind of ideology. Ha ha ha, not much different. Komaeda Naruto did not fully admit. On the contrary, he gave this kind of vague answer. Daisuke-samu also did not diligently pursue. After all, this kind of matter is not possible to ask clearly in one section, because even if it is the person themselves will not necessarily understand their own deepest thoughts, it is more fun to slowly observe. He is more curious as to what made Komaeda Naruto give birth to this kind of idea. He can't see anything from the reports. Daisuke-samu just about to say something again, the two people suddenly felt something cold dropping on their head. Ah, it's raining. Komaeda Naruto regretfully said, Sigh, I thought I could chat a little more with Daisuke. With this, we can only quickly go home. Meeting up to just chat for less than 5 minutes, but losing the document 3 times misfortune in exchange for luck, this kind of exchange is just about the same. Out of Komaeda Naruto's guesses, Daisuke-samu stared at the sky for a moment, suddenly smiled and turned his head to him and said, I feel like I will just encounter heavier rain if I return to Yokohama now. Will you let me stay the night? Ah. If it were a different person, a person who they just met 2 or 3 times asking this kind of request, they definitely refused because of various reasons. But Daisuke-samu had confidence that he would not be refused. Sure enough, Komaeda Naruto's focus was not here at all. He was stunned for a moment, and confirmed, Daisuke really looked at my reports? Of course, from birth to the day before, everything that can be checked, I had looked. If it's like that. Komaeda Naruto was bewildered for a moment, then restored his smile. As long as Daisuke doesn't say no, of course you can. It's an honor that I can help Daisuke. Feeling too lucky today. Indeed, I felt like even if I encounter a car accident and get hit and enter the emergency room level of misfortune the next second, I would not be surprised. Daisuke-samu was used to Komaeda Naruto's speaking style, very naturally continued, hopefully not, I'm going to be in the same car with you. Komaeda Naruto said without any ill intent, actually, right now Daisuke to me is not important to be able to be a misfortune level of sacrifice, but the best insurance is, of course, to maintain distance with me. Daisuke-samu. He rarely met this kind of style of player. Daisuke-samu couldn't help but be silent for a second before continuing to speak. Because compared to becoming your friend or something, becoming an acquaintance is safer, right? Komaeda Naruto nodded without changing his expression, and said with admiration, as expected of Daisuke, you indeed see very clear, for even Daisuke who sees so clearly and is still willing to approach me, I am deeply impressed. Not happy, nor grateful, but respectful. Daisuke-samu felt that Komaeda Naruto was really very interesting, looking enthusiastic but self-deprecating, hiding arrogance and self-centeredness, and this kind of personality is not shown from past experience data. In fact, it is also really difficult to see this from past data. The Komaeda Naruto in memory, the two worlds are mainly different in the following aspects. 1. This world does not have Hope's Peak students. 2. Komaeda Naruto's luck does not have the government's approval yet. 3. This world's society is not like another world's similar teachings of talent is hope and other theories. 4. History has changed, and many literary authors have disappeared. Because of the first 3 differences, leading to before gaining the new memories, Komaeda Naruto although really worships powerful, capable people, but is just limited to this. He does not have any strange hope for powerful people, nor does he change his thinking because he is lucky to be recognized for his talent that surpasses ordinary people, so his personality is actually considered a bit strange but normal and approachable. So the report Dazai-Osamu received about Komaeda Nagito's personality was described very accurately, but limited to the once Komaeda Nagito. And now there is another world of his own memory, Komaeda Nagito. Not only the hope cancer ideology infiltrates the brain, he has also passed the superstitiously believed in talented people stage, entering the even the talented people who represented hope have the chance of losing to despair, even worse than me stage. This then leads to his behavior, although looks like not much change, but his thinking process deviates a little from before. Most people will not be able to see this little deviation. They only thought Komaeda Nagito logic is strange, but only a person like Dazai-Osamu can feel a trace of unwell from the mismatch between the word choice on and experience. But this mismatch makes Dazai-Osamu even more excited. Although Dazai-Osamu really want to continue this conversation, but raindrop gradually become heavier. Dazai-Osamu could only regretfully give up the original plan. Since that's the case, I'll tell Komaeda-kun a good piece of information you really want to know. Komaeda Nagito looked puzzled and doubtful. Dazai-Osamu used a seemingly joking tone to say, "My ability is called no longer human. It can nullify the effect of any ability. If your luck is an ability, it will have no effect on me. However, the activation condition is to have contacts. Do you want to try?" Komaeda Nagito was flattered and said, "Dazai-kun is fine casually telling me this kind of thing. This kind of trust is really heavy, but what if I don't have any abilities? If Komaeda-kun's luck isn't any ability?" Dazai-Osamu slowly revealed a strange smile. "Then I will really look forward to it, looking forward to what kind of surprise you will bring me. Or what kind of death." Chapter 5 End. Author's note. Komaeda, you will probably die. Dazai, isn't that better? JPG. Originally this world Komaeda is approaching Komaeda Nagito and the world destroyer, that kind of harmless state, but is now affected by the memory. The result is, you understand. You don't need to pay too much attention to Tei Corporation, the impact is not big. Remember, the key word is gambling ship is fine.